got some bad advice. You talk to people. I've never heard anybody say anything bad about Nico Iamaleava.
No.
I kind of feel bad for him because most guys are going to do what Daddy says. And in this case, I don't know that. I think they probably should have had a real professional agent if they were looking at this stuff as opposed to Papa doing this. But we shall see. My question for you: he wanted to make $4 million. Now you've got teams across the country who are already budgeted. So the number of teams who can pay him that kind of money is going to be limited. Oregon was believed to be one of those teams. The rumor came out that Dan Lanning, when Papa Iamaleava shopped his son to Dan Lanning last week, Lanning called Heupel and said, hey, your quarterback's on the market. When Dan Lanning was asked about that yesterday in a press conference, he denied it. He didn't deny it. He refused to talk about it. He could have easily said that's not true. By not saying it's not true, kind of suggests, yeah, I called him and told him. So anyway, USC may have the booster power to come and get him, but they just signed a 5-star. Do you want Nico first? You've got UCLA. That program has gone in the tank. There's talk of North Carolina, possibly, and they've got money with Belichick right now. Is he going to wind up getting the money he wants and wind up in a position as good or better than Tennessee, in your opinion?
I think if he goes into a team, it's going to go to a team that's more desperate, that probably has less pieces and is less put together. So he's going to go to a team that, their chances of making the playoffs just right now are a far dream away from being able to do that. So he's going to go to somebody that has money, that wants to throw money at it and says, oh, this is the lifeline that maybe gets us a spark going. But he's not going to go to a team that has a defense the way ours is, or things coming back and pieces put together. He's going to be their first chip. So he probably is going to get paid higher being the first chip of somebody, if that's what they're really going to latch on and think about. But it's all potential based. And so, the market's got to show you who's going to be. And so it only takes one to like you.
That's right.
So you can get it, but I wouldn't bet on it being a quality team that you're going
Well, if part of this goes back, and I think some of it was on their part, it's cash first, but I think it was also what's around him. If they thought they were going to have to do much heavy lifting here, probably going to have to do heavy lifting wherever he winds up at. Marlon, do you think he's going to wind up better off for this move, or is he worse off? And let me include in that, NFL teams are watching this too. Now, if you've got enough talent, they don't care. They'll draft you for an axe murderer.
Right.
But if you don't have a wild amount of talent, I think people would pay attention to the fact that this guy held out in college. Do we really want to bring that in? Is he going to be better off for all this or no?
It depends on how he plays, wherever he goes. I think that's the answer to the question. But here's what I will say. If you look at our last game versus Ohio State, it was a beatdown. The one guy that looked like he had some potential and showed himself to be a decent quarterback with a lot of potential coming up this next season was Nico. It was Nico. So I think teams are watching it that saw that. And the way it is right now, as competitive as it is, the tampering that's going on, if you think you've got a guy that you're not so much believing in right now, why wouldn't you go get Nico?
I didn't think he was great in that game, but we said after that game was played, he at least looked like he belonged on the stage. He stood there and took a beating. He ran it 20 times, which he probably wasn't thrilled with. This is the offense you gave me.
Beat up wide receiver core.
Yeah. So,
I think if you're that coaching staff, like you said, there's going to be somebody that probably does fall in love with them. It's a matter of can they raise the money and get the money to the level they need to be to get him in. Do I think there's going to be a long line of people? I don't think that. I think it's probably going to be a selective group, like we said. I don't think there's a huge group out there.
Most schools by spring, you've got your quarterback picked and you've spent your money accordingly.
Yeah. And also the schools are going to do some background check. How often is the dad asking for a raise? How many times does he want to renegotiate? Is this going to be a constant headache for me in the locker room and around? And that, if I'm a coach, I may not want just because of that reason.
There you go.
Here's what I would say as a guy that was a coach of one of the top tier players who's getting ready for the draft right now.
Walter Nolan.
Yeah, Walter Nolan. Taking the phone calls, hearing the coaches, and I mean top programs, calling and saying, hey, we want in. What's the price? I think Nico's going to have a line of guys waiting on him.
It's interesting. The Athletic did a story today where they reached out to a number of collectives, a number of GMs for schools, et cetera, and they said, what's he worth? and all these guys, the consensus was basically probably what UT was paying him, maybe less. You had one guy said, I'd give him $500,000 in incentives. Somebody said, I'd give him $1 million, $1.5 million. And then they said, all right, what do you think you'll get? And everybody said, well, he ain't going to get 4, but he'll probably get 3.
Yeah.
So he will get a raise over this. Even though they say he's only worth $1 million, $2 million, they think he'll get 3.
That's what I'm saying.
It's the market.
Somebody's willing to overpay. There's enough people out there that say, and like I said, that's why I don't think it's going to a great team, because it's somebody that says, I need something and I'm willing to overpay to get this guy in.
I think this goes down as one of the, just a bad decision. And it reminds me of the Jalen Hurd situation. Here was a guy who was within, ending his career 3 or 4 games shy of ending it here at Tennessee as their all-time leading rusher. Instead, he quits mid-game at South Carolina, says, no, I want to go be a receiver. Transfers, loses a year, starts being a receiver at Baylor, goes to the pros. He washes out of the NFL in a couple of years. That's what this looks like. If you're Nico, you were on a top 25 team, you had a playoffs, the NFL is next year, what are you doing? I think you've shot yourself in the foot, but we'll see. It depends on how he plays.
He's got to learn a whole new system. There's a lot of process for him to becoming good. I do think this sets him back 1 year from any NFL hopes.